All right, let's go ahead and get to it. Last year, the mere possession of normal capacity gun magazines that can hold 10 rounds or more was banned, and that law takes effect this year, July 1st. It will result in a fine for anyone who is caught violating the law. Let's start out with Jamie Franks. How is this going to affect you as a competitive shooter? And what is your take on that law?
See if this thing works. All right. Sorry. I grew up I was born and raised in North Carolina. I joined the Navy when I was 18 and was stationed out here in San Diego, and I've been here ever since. So all this stuff has been new to me in the last few years. I grew up in North Carolina and had to worry about this kind of thing. Once I started shooting competitively in California and started just shooting in general out here in California, magazine capacity, at least for the entire time I've lived in California, has always been limited in handguns and rifles to 10 rounds, and possession was never illegal. It was only illegal in rifles if you put the magazine in the gun. Handguns, you were good to use them, but you just couldn't buy them or sell them in the state. So competition shooting adapted to that, like all the divisions in competition shooting are divided by the equipment that you use. So in California, we have the lovely California Limited 10 Division, which is basically the division where if you want to voluntarily handicap yourself and do a reload every 2 seconds after you've expended all 10 of your rounds. So that's nothing new. Now it's going to come into a problem that possession of these magazines is banned. I, as a competition shooter, I'm as interested as anyone to see how it's going to be enforced. I've heard a lot of different opinions on how that's going to go. The Los Angeles City Council 2 years ago, they were ahead of the game and placed a ban on possession of magazines of greater than 10 round capacity. And I read an article 6 months ago that said, as of the writing of that article, the Los Angeles Police Department and Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department had recorded exactly 0 magazine turn-ins. So the unfortunate part for competition shooters and California citizens in general is this ban on possession of magazines of greater than 10 round capacity. You're painting people into a corner, otherwise 100% law-abiding citizens. You're painting them into a corner and forcing them to decide, do they technically want to be a criminal or not, just to legally, to continue to practice something they've legally and passionately been pursuing for many, many years. Some of the guys I shoot with are my dad's age and have been competing for 30 or 40 years, and now with the stroke of a pen, they're going to become a criminal. And it's going to put guys like me and guys like them to a decision.
Okay, in terms of the ammo ban, how does that affect sales? Let's go to John Phillips, Poway Weapons.
Good morning, or good afternoon. Well, the ammo ban is something that's going to increase costs for any firearms dealer. We're required to do get additional licenses and background checks for every person who works for us. So the increased costs, the increased regulatory, the increased accountability of every round that's in our facility is going to thus increase costs to the consumer. The ability to, or anytime you're taking away the marketplace, you can't order over the internet, you can't create competition, we're going to see ammo prices go up. We're going to pass on the cost, but there's not going to be the ability to have fair competition. As much as I'd like to make as much money as humanly possible, I'm a fan of fair competition in the marketplace. But we're going to see people jump on board and raise prices pretty readily. And I think the first of the year, that will happen. There will be a lot of confusion. And then as we get into more and more of the licensing that you're going to have to do, the accountability that we're going to have to do whenever you buy ammunition from us, and then our reporting to the state on your behalf of how much ammunition you've purchased, that's all going to play into kind of a regulatory nightmare and a business nightmare for us all.
Okay, Michael, as it relates to what you're hearing from members of your association about high-capacity magazines, what are you hearing?
Well, one thing I want to point out from both their answers, which I think is really an amazing testament, is as competitors, they said, okay, well, that's the law. Let's see what we can do to figure that out. You know, as a retailer, John, you would think that, I mean, basically, that's allowing a retailer on the ground here in San Diego to corner the market. you would think that he would be for that, and say, hey, this is great. I'm the only one that can sell ammo. But the reality is the competitors that compete with Jamie aren't doing that. They aren't happy about it, or they aren't, whatever. They're saying, hey, let's do what we have to do. We're the good guys. And the reality is John from Power Weapons Gear and the other retailers are not happy about these restrictive laws. They're not looking to corner the market. They're really more about your freedom and liberty, your Second Amendment rights. And I think that's an important point to be able to push back on the other side with, because so often they say, oh, well, gee, the NRA or some of these other organizations are really just about retailers. They're just about money, and that's not the reality at all. And I think you guys all agree with me that it's really about our fundamental rights. It's about our Second Amendment rights. And this is proof positive that that's a fact. It was for years illegal to buy and sell or import these magazines, and now it's going to be illegal to possess them. And many people have these magazines left over, or built them up, acquired them, and used them in a legal manner. And now just the mere possession of them is going to be a crime. It's extremely confusing. It's a bear trap, which are many of these laws in California that have to do with firearms. It's just an enormous bear trap that law-abiding citizens are going to step in without even knowing. You have to practically be a paralegal to own a gun in California anymore, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. Criminalizing normal behavior, and as you all know, these magazines were manufactured and designed for the firearms that they're being used in. Criminalizing normal behavior doesn't lower crime rates. It never has. It never will. And I think that's the big concern that I hear mostly from the members and the retailers and people that I work with.
Amanda, you serve on the Vista City Council. You hear from constituents on a wide range of issues each and every day. Is this a big issue for them? I know, quote, gun control is, but when people are talking about gun control, I don't see them getting into the weeds. I see them basically saying, oh, get rid of all the guns, which ultimately is the agenda. But do you hear constituents saying, I'm really worried about these high-capacity magazines? What are you hearing from folks in terms of this specific issue?
What I hear from most constituents with regard to this is more of a broad brush reaction in that legislation is coming at us again, and we are the ones who are the law-abiding citizens. We are not the ones that are committing the crimes with our guns. And so, as it's been pointed out, with one fell swoop of a pen, it could very well make a lot of people now criminals just because of something that they possess, that they purchased when it was a legal product. So that's the concern that I get from constituents, is what can we do to get the legislature to understand that we are the law-abiding citizens. We are not the ones that they need to be attacking. And a lot of times people comment that a lot of times in Sacramento, it does seem that the legislators in Sacramento are more concerned with the rights of criminals more so than the rights of the law-abiding citizens. And they want to know what can they do on a local level and a statewide level, which is engagement, be active, make phone calls, write letters, know what your legislature is doing.
Okay, and so we've got this requirement that's hitting on July 1, and everyone wants to stay on the right side of the law, not become a criminal. So John Dillon, what is the fine? What are you hearing is going to be the enforcement process? And how would you advise folks to get rid of this contraband?
It is interesting how a piece of plastic with a metal spring in it can cause such controversy. But basically, the breakdown of the law is like this. We had SB 1446 and Prop 63, the ballot initiative. Both of them actually created new law that regulated high-capacity magazines, anything that holds over 10 rounds or has the ability to accept over 10 rounds. Again, this starts and goes into effect July 1st, 2017. Interestingly enough, 1446 and Prop 63, they conflict with how they deal with punishing people that still have these magazines. It seems, though, that Prop 63 will probably have the authority over SB 1446. So there's a problem there because under 1446, you have fines every time, and it's an infraction. So a lot of people, when they first heard about this, they said, oh, it's fine. I'll just set aside some money, pay the fine like a parking ticket when I get caught. Unfortunately, under Prop 63, it says you're guilty of an infraction with a $100 fine per magazine, and then this is the big part, is it says, or a misdemeanor with a $100 fine, or both. So you very well and can be convicted of a misdemeanor if you retain possession of these magazines past July 1st, 2017. So anyone who's saying that, oh, don't worry about it, it's an infraction, you just pay a speeding ticket type thing and you're done, no issue, the worst thing that happens is your magazine gets taken away. No, there are broader and worse consequences that can happen. Again, we don't know how law enforcement is going to regulate this and control this or enforce it, really. So it's a wait-and-see approach in that, but I would highly recommend you don't rely on the fact that the law enforcement will just have a good-hearted nature towards your magazine possession, and they'll allow it just because you seem like a good guy. So with disposal, again, the two laws conflict in the ways you can dispose of these magazines. 1446 actually allows you more ways to dispose of it than Prop 63 does. Under Prop 63, which we're going to assume is going to be the authority on this, you can either remove it from the state, sell this to an FFL, or surrender it to law enforcement for destruction. Now, I know everyone is thinking now that, what about blocking your magazines? This isn't listed in the law as a way to dispose of it. However, if prior to July 1st, 2017, if you permanently alter these magazines to where they hold 10 rounds or less, you seem to comply with the letter of the law, and it doesn't seem like you'll have any issue and you'll stay in compliance. I know with the proposed high-capacity magazine regulations that were actually withdrawn in December, under those proposed regulations, they discuss how you had to rivet or weld and also install a magazine block into the magazines to be considered permanently altered. Unfortunately, as of now, there are two ways that people do it. A lot of people either just put a rivet into the magazine to block it, or they install a magazine block. Under the current law, that seems to be fine, and I haven't heard of anyone having any issue if they've legitimately blocked these and tried their best effort to make it permanent. They may try to push some new regulations that will change that, and when that happens, we'll have to address that accordingly. But the best bet is always to be more cautious, block your magazines prior to July 1st, 2017, and that will have you stay in compliance.
All right, well, some of us have boxes upon boxes of things in our garage and around our house. Suppose after July 1st, we stumble across contraband. What do? What is the legal way to dispose?
Honestly, it's a big unknown factor in that sense. There's nothing in the law that states, if you accidentally forgot about a magazine in your garage, or you're cleaning out your grandpa's basement and you found a bunch of magazines, what to do with them. In other instances, when it comes to firearms and surrendering possession, there are usually ways to surrender to law enforcement while negotiating some sort of immunity beforehand. I would recommend, if you do come across magazines and you want to get rid of them by submitting them to law enforcement, that you would call an attorney such as myself or someone else who has any type of experience in these matters to make sure you're doing it right, because you don't want to just walk into a police station and say, hey, I have a bunch of contraband, here's 5 misdemeanors to hand over. So use caution in that. Again, they allow for removal from the state or selling it to an FFL. Obviously, you won't be able to sell it to an FFL after July 1st. No one technically will know if you remove it from the state. I'm not telling you to do any illegal activity, but there's a lot of ways that they can't keep track of these things, and I'm sure people will go and choose any sort of manner to hide their magazines in an illegal fashion. But best to consult an attorney, talk about it with them before you go ahead and start doing anything or making any decisions.
Maybe the anti-Second Amendment folks up in Sacramento will pass a law saying, just like with babies, if you wrap them in a blanket, you can leave them in front of a fire station. Okay, anything else on the capacity of ammo? Any other comments? All right, let's move on to the next thing that's been banned.
Without someone doing something about it, it's not going to get any better.